Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Rotarians, and quite a large number of international guests. My name is Tom Crampton. I am your MC for today's meeting of the Rotary Club of Melbourne. First, and very important to us, is we would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri and the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation, and also pay our respect to elders past, present, and future, and extend that respect to all Indigenous Australians present today. Please note that most microphones have been muted for the duration of the presentation. Accolades and comments and questions can be posted via the Zoom chat function throughout the presentation. Thanks today will be given by Peter Hollingworth, followed by the Loyal Toast presented by President Marion. Please ensure your glass is charged. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Those who've been to the Somme Valley for ceremonies to mark the deaths of gallant soldiers, the loyalty and fortitude of the local people, the devastation of villages, are honoured today to join with fellow French Rotarians and many others from around our world. Following Anzac Day services to renew the bonds of friendship between our nations, our fellowship in Rotary International, and the special relationships with the people of the towns of the Somme Valley and beyond. My late wife Anne and I attended those Anzac ceremonies to represent the Australian people at services of remembrance and other functions within several villages. One of our personal memories was a reception hosted by the Mayor of Villebretonneau. Having heard they would never forget General Sir John Monash and the Australia and New Zealand troops, I was able to respond in saying that many of us felt the same because the names of their towns in the Somme and elsewhere were etched on our memories in Australia. For me, living in East Malvern with my family, there were two fine squares on either side of us, Villas and Bretonneau, to honour experiences long past, but remembered by later generations. We will remember them, buried in the battlefields, returning home, maimed, suppressed memories, grieving relatives, and the continuing cry for peace in our time. Lest we forget, we give thanks. Amen.
Thank you, Peter. We were all very saddened to hear about Anne, and that was a beautiful thank you. Rotarians and guests, a toast to Australia and Rotary International. Australia and Rotary International. Members, visitors and guests, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to our 40th meeting in our 101st year and our monthly members lunch. We have online today special visiting international Rotarians. Our wonderful event today comes courtesy of our colleagues in France, some of whom have joined us at the risk of being very sleep deprived. They'll be introduced more fully later, but they include Dr. Patrice Gadroy, the past District Governor of District 1520, Northeast France, President of the ICC, the Intercountry Committee, France Australia, and Coordinator of the Polio Plus for France, Belgium, and Luxembourg. Along with her is Evelyn Gadroy, past President, RC Rotary Club of Amiens, Valles, Secretary of the ICC France Australia, and working with Patrice on the polio project. We also have, we may have Professor Louis Mouton, if he can get access, the past President of the Rotary Club of Amiens, Yves Cassou, member of the Rotary Club of Amiens, and Jean-Michel Henniquet, the President of the Rotary Club of Amiens. Other guests joining the meeting today are Graham Wilson, the Australian President of the Intercountry Club France Australia, Rebecca Doyle, the Director of the Sir John Monash Centre, and David Kram as the Melbourne Rotary Ambassador for ICC France Australia, working alongside Chris Wong and Mark Panoli. We also have Bruce Fennick and George Brookman from the Rotary Club of Calgary, who provided such a wonderful video for our centenary lunch, and they have a particular interest in the topic today. A very warm welcome to you all. Our chairman today, coordinating the members' lunch format, is David Carruthers, and also online are the member presenters Carol Bond, Mark Lesser, and David Kram, and they will also be further introduced by David later in the program. A warm welcome to David and the presenters. And before I hand over the meeting to David, just some quick club business. Today's Did You Know is on past President Peter Norman, Paul Harris Fellow and OAM of the Rotary Club of Mount Waverley, who recently attended both the Angus Mitchell Oration Lunch and the 100th Anniversary Lunch. He shared the lengthy connection of the Norman family with the Rotary Club of Melbourne. His grandfather, Herbert Norman, joined our club in 1924 and was an active member until his death in 1940. Then his father, Keith Norman, joined in 1946 and his return from active service, and was actively involved, including vice president in 1959 until his retirement from business in 1960. Whereupon he joined the Rotary Club of Mornington, where he was president and later district governor 260 in 1967, and remained active there until his death in 1984. Peter Norman then joined the Rotary Club of Oakley, chartered by the Rotary Club of Melbourne in 1977, and was president 3 times, including in 2008 for their 50th anniversary, which had in attendance members of our club. The 3 generations of Normans have in total 98 years of Rotary service. And that plays well into the district drive to bring family into the club. So now to our club centenary events and our membership minute. I thought I'd share this current slide with you of our global membership and just highlight a few things that are quite interesting. You can see in this slide that membership is changing and that the Rotaract model seems to resonate with younger members as it continues to grow at around 7% and is particularly appealing to women. Our traditional membership has, on the other hand, declined by around 2% annually. Both, however, have reaped the benefits from the COVID period. And this seems to signal that we've got some increased engagement with Rotary through this period. This may have been the transition into more virtual platforms. And in our club, we're continuing to pursue a hybrid platform for our meetings to meet the needs of members and their preferences for both the in-person and the online meetings, and it'll allow everyone to engage in their own way. Now to our 100th anniversary lunch. This was a spectacular affair, and a special thanks go to our MC, Bev Brock. I think she's about to be spotlighted here for the stellar performance that she gave us as MC. It was a professional balance of celebration, humility, reflection, history, and fellowship, and a consideration of how we are called towards new opportunities for a better world. For a live event to run so smoothly takes a mastery of planning and a huge effort, for which we have Chris Stillwell to thank. So a big thank you to Chris. We also had a peace symposium that followed it, and I think those who attended would agree that we had some spectacular speakers and some amazing insights shared with us. I was particularly uplifted to discover that even those discussing the doomsday clock, which is at 100 seconds to midnight, were optimistic about our future, including Gareth Evans. And the recordings of this have now been made available to us, thanks to the hard work of Mark Panoli in the background and to Murray Verso, who's joined us here today. Next is the picnic at Albert Park Lake. That has unfortunately been postponed due to the clashes with Sydney's centenary event and the district events. However, we're hoping to get everybody back on their bikes again this year and join the efforts in October. Our District 9800 conference is a virtual Victoria multi-district Rotary conference. So it involves a number of Rotary districts, 5 in total. It's going to be a free online-only event with the 5 districts, delivering the first ever virtual Rotary District Conference. It's held over the 2 days, Saturday the 1st and Sunday the 2nd, and it's there to inspire Rotarians and celebrate the achievements of Rotary over the last 100 years and create some opportunities and ideas for us to take back to our district and to our clubs to help grow them and make them even stronger in our communities. If you've never been to a district conference, then this is a perfect opportunity to sample one. There's also a District 9800, which is our district breakout session and showcase. So in addition to the free virtual event on Saturday, the 1st of May, there's an opportunity to join our district governor, Philip Archer, and the District 9800 Rotarians in person with a district showcase and a breakout session that's being held at the Hyatt Place Convention Centre at Essendon Fields. That starts at 10 o'clock and it has a showcase promoting our district signature projects in each of the avenues of service: youth vocational service, international service, community service, and the Rotary Foundation. And following the showcase, you'll be able to view the main virtual Victoria Conference on large screens at the Convention Centre. And you can stay and enjoy a gourmet barbecue and presentations that end at 4:30 in the afternoon. So this Rotary Showcase costs $65 per person, which includes the car parking and the barbecue. And an email will be circulated to all members this afternoon with the details of how to join. It's now my great pleasure to hand over today's meeting to our chair of the day, David Carruthers.
Thank you, President Marion. Today's meeting is a 3-part program, and it will address profiling an existing member, feedback from a recent inductee, and surprise, surprise, the time that would normally be allocated to a theme and a project will be devoted totally to our relationship with the Rotary Club of Amiens. Initially, I invite Marg Lesser, who has been a club member since May 2019. Marg is an independent facilitator and accredited mediator, working with a particular focus on applying collaborating facilitation and mediation to organisational change, leadership development and community engagement projects. We look forward to hearing how you have applied your skills to Rotary Melbourne, along with your perceptions of the club and any other issues you wish to share from us. Marg.
Hi, good day and bonjour. I need to, in the interest of accuracy, correct that at the moment I'm going for re-accreditation as a mediator, so I'm in that in-between space, but the rest of it was fairly accurate. I mainly do coaching at the moment on Zoom because COVID has thrown up for many people new doors, new opportunities, whilst the sadness of losing jobs, many people are realising that there are other avenues open. So that's an interesting thing, which ties with my involvement with vocational service. David asked me to briefly talk about my experiences, which have been amazing and really amazing considering that I've only had 6 months of face-to-face meetings and contact before the COVID hit. But I've had a range of things. I met David over this, the Bicycle Victoria, standing on a very noisy corner. I've had a real privilege about a month ago of going with Jim Orchard and Pam Brown to northeastern Victoria, where we were involved in looking at the continuing sad impact of the bushfires and how, as we all know, disasters have impacts that last a long time. And Pam and Jim are doing a power of work, and the caravans were a hugely appreciated, as was a container for the men's shed. And it reminded me of being in Timor when I first thought of Rotary and the roofing project. And Timor is a country that has been devastated. In fact, while we're in the car in northeastern Victoria, I was getting texts from Timor about the incredible devastation that's occurred there. So anything we can do is needed. And it reminds me of the other place I visited through Rotary, which was Nepal in February last year, in time to just whiz home before COVID, and where the money raised by Rotary Melbourne towards the guest house and the guest house was officially opened by Ambassador and whatever else. And 10 days after we left, it became a food distribution centre through COVID. So it really brings home to me how Rotary is so flexible and creates opportunities, but is able to adapt. And I have to say, I'm just stunned by the range of things Rotary does. And my overwhelming feeling is one of humility. It's just staggering how Rotary helps quietly people build their own capacity and move on. So I briefly mentioned international, which is really how I'm engaged with Rotary initially. At the moment, I'm involved with Vocational Service Committee, which has just got more things happening than is amazing. So mentoring is a big push. I know Marion has worked hard on this, Kerry Kornhauser, met Reg, and we're hoping to partner with Women Can and launch mentoring through the range of Rotarian skills, both within our club and beyond. And I think if Michaela can pull it off, we'll launch that in June. But on May 19th is the Vocational Service Award. And I was privileged to interview with Iqbal and Cynthia, stunning, amazing, inspiring young people, very hard to select who should get the awards. And that's May the 19th. And Vocational Services Committee's got lots happening. So in fact, we're going to do an open house meeting on June the 7th at 6 o'clock in the Rotary office, which will be the first face-to-face meeting of vocational services that I've chaired for a year and never met most of the people on the committee face-to-face. So we're really hoping any Rotarians interested in mentoring or vocational service can join us in the office at 6 o'clock on Monday, June the 7th. I guess I was asked to think about future. I think Rotary does so much stuff. I'm new, so I don't know how much we measure our impact, the return on the investment, not just the dollars, but the people's skills, because I think we have an extraordinary story to tell about how we work with communities to grow communities and support them, and how we really make a difference. So that return on investment of man hours as well, and woman hours, of course, as well as the issue of dollars. And the other thing I probably should say is what's impressed me is the diversity, the range of skills, ages, people, backgrounds is what makes Rotary a challenge and a joy to join. And what I was looking for, because I like working with people who think differently to me. And that's really what I'm looking forward to with more face-to-face engagement. David, I think that's more than enough.
Thank you, Mark, for sharing your impressions with us. And I do recall standing on a street corner in Williamstown, I think it was. We all look forward to working with you going forward and wish you all the best with your time with Rotary. We now have an opportunity to hear from a recent inductee. Carol Bond was inducted exactly 6 months ago on the 28th of October 2020 with the classification Energy Infrastructure. Carol is a political and social scientist in the energy and resources sector, lecturing at RMIT. She will provide her initial impressions and areas of Rotary activity she's connected with during this first 6 month period. Carol.
Thank you very much, David. And thank you very much, Marion, for having me today. I'm so pleased to be the third generation of my family now inducted into Rotary. I originally hail from Chicago, Illinois. Otherwise the mother house, the mothership for Rotary International. And I moved to Australia in July of 2007, living mostly in Queensland for my time here. I moved to Melbourne about 2 years ago to take up a position at RMIT, at which point my father said to me, "It's time to join Rotary. I think you're old enough now." So I did gratefully go through the induction process, and in the period since my induction, so many people called and wrote to make me feel welcome, even in these very strange COVID times. Even though we didn't have face-to-face meetings, I have to really thank everybody who reached out in those first few months to make sure that I got settled. I've been a member of the Environmental Sustainability Committee since this time. I'm very impressed by the leadership and the energy and activities of Gary Fowler, Peter Berg, Sharon Johnson, Ari Talentis, Idan Shi, Mina Guli, and most recently, George Giamadakis. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. There's a variety of activities that this committee is undertaking, which I'm not going to steal anybody's thunder, but because I think we have some time coming up in another meeting to discuss what we've been working on. But it's been quite a focused set of activities that I've really enjoyed. I also have been an observer of the Peace Symposium Committee. One of the reasons I actually came to Australia in the first place was to take a university course, a master's degree course in peace and conflict studies. And the reason I chose the program at the University of Queensland is because Rotary International was sponsoring Peace Fellows to attend there. And even though I couldn't because I'm a legacy, I could still go to the same program and enjoy the same benefits in terms of my learning, which has shaped my entire approach to the energy and resources sector here in Australia. So it was quite a pleasure to attend the 100th anniversary luncheon last week and then be able to attend the Peace Symposium, both in person on the first day and virtually on the second day. And I look forward to getting to know you all much better and hearing about the wonderful things you're doing with this club. I was so impressed in the wide range of activities and service that was showcased at the 100th anniversary luncheon, and found it very, very inspiring, and I'm so pleased to be a member of this club. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. We finally caught up with each other at last week's centenary lunch, and your comment about environmental sustainability, we have recently agreed that will be included in next month's members meeting. You'll be pleased to hear. And I'm sure that there'll be opportunities for you to share your experiences with many other of our members going forward, and we wish you all the best. It's now my pleasure to pass you to David Kram, who will provide some background to our relationship with the Rotary Club of Amiens before sharing some creative input we have received from them. David.
Thanks, David, and thanks, Rotarians. Thanks, President Barry. And I will be brief. A little covering message from me and two files. One is a map of Amiens and the area, and the other is biographies of all the wonderful people who have contributed to the videos today. Suffice it to say that I met Patrice and Eveline and Louis, whom you will see on those videos, in 2016, and it's led to these wonderful collaborations. For those who have not been to France, the map of Amiens should show you that it's about the same distance from Paris going north on the way to Calais as Ballarat is, say, or Bendigo from Melbourne. It's a beautiful city. It will be shown on the video. And going east of Amiens, you'll see some of the beautiful areas of the Somme Valley, with Villers-Bretonneux being about 16 kilometers on one side of the Somme, and on the north side, the beautiful little village of Sailly-le-Sec being about 25 kilometers from Amiens, so an easy drive. I'll just mention quickly the names of the participants here, and you can read their bios on that chat file, on the file that I produced. Dr. Patrice Gadois, his wife Eveline, and they are here with us in the meeting. Professor Louis Mouton, Professor of English, is an apology. He's on holiday in Bretagne with his wife, and he's not got internet access, but he sends his love and best wishes. Rebecca Doyle, welcome. I haven't met you before, but I did meet your predecessor in 2018 at the opening of the Sir John Monash Memorial Centre, which you will see on this video. Yves Kessou, I've just met you today online. Wonderful. Thank you for putting together that montage of the main video. Jean-Michel Iniquet is the president of the Rotary Club of Amiens, with whom we have renewed an agreement of partnership between Rotary Melbourne and Rotary Club of Amiens in the context of the ICC France Australia partnership there. And also there are many others who've contributed. So I won't say any more, with no more ado, have a wonderful view of this video. And then to conclude our meeting, President Marion will introduce another very poignant and moving video. And thank you to everybody who has contributed this. Over to the video.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Welcome in France, welcome in Picardy, welcome in Sailly-le-Sec, welcome at home in my village. You can hear the dogs. I am Patrice Gadrois. I was a GP, medical practitioner, in Ham during 45 years. Ham is a little town at the east of the county. I was DG, district governor, for the 17-18 year, in the district 15-20. 17-18 was the year of the centenary, of the end of the First World War. It is for this reason that we invited Ian Risley, the international president, Australian president, to attend to the ceremony of ANZAC Day on the 25th April 18. It was a huge event for us and for all the region and for the country too. There was a lot of visitors, 4,000 Australians, and it was a big emotional moment that we have shared with Ian and with all the student exchange of the district. Jean Tasson has founded the ICC France Australia. Jean Tasson is a Rotarian from Paris, Rotary Club Paris La Défense, and he founded the ICC with his colleague Graham Wilson from the Rotary Club of Mount Druitt in Australia. They were chartered in 16 from the hands of the Ravi Ravindran, international president, during the international conference of Nice. So we are very glad to take part to your event, the centenary anniversary of your club, Rotary Club of Melbourne, and we are very glad to take part of this event with you. are now in the Rue des Australiens. You can see the street sign of the Rue des Australiens. The Australian troops arrived in our village at the beginning of the 1918 spring. They arrived to relieve the exhausted soldiers, British soldiers, who were in this village for a long time after the terrible battle on the west front, the terrible battle of Somme on the 1st July 1916, where they lost 35,000 soldiers in the same day. It was a terrible battle for the British troops. So the Australian soldiers describe in their letters this village wholly destroyed. The barns, the farms was dislocated, the cattle was free in the marsh, in the fields, but they found sometimes some bottles of good wine in the cellars. It was good for them. A part of the 3rd Divisions takes place, positions at the east of the village. A few days later, on the 30th of April 1918, they were about to write a heroic chapter of the Battle of Sailsec, and a heroic chapter of the book of your young nation.
Bonjour à tous. Hello. I'm delighted to be there and delighted to send you my best wishes for your centenary. And congratulations, of course, for all the events you are organizing. I am a Rotarian myself. I belong to the Rotary Club Amiens Les Trois Valles, which was created in 2012, which means that we have quite a future ahead of us compared to you. And why the Three Valleys? Because this hill where we stand now overlooks the valley of the Somme, which is one of the three valleys we are referring to in our name. And it overlooks the village as well, that you can discover right now. So you are soldiers belonging to the 3rd Australian Division, arrived in our village in March 1918, and in the village there were only 18 people left. Everybody had gone at this time, and they discovered, fortunately, they discovered some food and wine, as Patrice said previously, and they were quite happy with this. But of course they discovered the horror of the war, because they replaced the British troops that wished them all the best after what they'd lived here in Sailly-le-Sec and in all the hills surrounding. So to come back to our village was bombed on the 30th of March. The hostilities started on the 29th, and on the 23rd 30th of March, our village of Saint-Hilaire was bombed, and Patrice talked about the houses that were destroyed, the barns and everything. It was a chaos here. And they fought, the Allies and your troops helped to fight against the German that were lying from Valle to Sailly-Lorette over there. And they tried to stop the Germans from taking Amiens, the railway station, which was of course the direct route to Paris. So, well, thank you very much, because they were successful, and later with Sojourn Monash in Villers-Bretonneux, of course. So here in Sailly-le-Sec, thanks to 3 Australian people who came to visit us, Lex, Wayne and Andrew, who wanted to pay tribute to some members of their families, came to Sailly-le-Sec, and they, with their help, we organized the commemorations of this 30th of March in our village. We organized an exhibition, we organized conferences with Lex, with Andrew and Wayne, and we had about 150 people visiting this, for this event. And also we associated, of course, the schools of Cerisy and Sailly-le-Sec, and the children could listen to our friends, Australian friends, and they were really astounded hearing all what they said, telling their stories. And so we still commemorate the 30th of March in our village when we can. This year it was a reduced ceremony because of the pandemic.
Good morning, Australia. Good morning to you, Marion, Chris, Mark, David. A joyful hello to you all, dear friends of Melbourne, Sydney, Sandringham, Rotary clubs. Here we are in Amiens, the heart of the Somme. From our terrace, overlooking Parc Saint-Pierre, the city skyline will be the backdrop to our quest for peace as we wander past illustrious monuments in the capital of Picardy. My name is Louis Mouton, also known as Louis Jumbach. My wife is Marie-Claude. We've been living in Amiens for about 40 years. In 2009, I became a member of the Amiens Rotary Club. I was much honored to be asked to take on the presidency in 2011. I am a member of Australia France ICC. My club was founded in 1938, a mere toddler compared to your 100 years. Both Bernard Chabrance and Antoine Benoit, past presidents in 2009 and 2010, contributed to the establishment of our friendship link, successfully renewed this year through Marion McLeod's invitation to our president, Jean-Michel Henniquet. Ever since becoming a Rotarian, I have had the privilege of meeting eminent Rotarians from Australia. Impossible to forget Ian and Juliet Risley's visit to France in 2018. The presidential couple honoured our District 1520 during their memorable stay in Amiens, attending the exceptionally moving 100th dawn service in Villers-Bretonneux. It is therefore an honor to address you in the name of Governor Chantal Tullet, in the name of the D1520 past governors Jean-Louis Formosa, Georges Pacaud, Philippe Andréhello, Jean-Pierre Angelin, Patrice Gadrois and Charles Tondeur, all 6 in office during the 2013 to 2019 World War I commemoration period, and in the name of the 8 Rotary Clubs of the Somme. On arriving in Amiens with my wife and children for a new teaching assignment, the power of attraction of the cathedral immediately became palpable, the irresistible prestige exuding from its mighty walls. At the heart of this so often tortured Somme territory, I quickly caught the historical meaning of the symbol of this impressive stone vessel, impregnable beacon impervious to the unrest of history. Within the cathedral, in a remote bend of the apse, the vivid colors of the flags and ensigns stand out atop the poppy reefs before the altar in the Allies' chapel. But then, couldn't this monument be considered as the point of convergence between the wounds of war and the soothing remedy called peace, distilled in a context of forgiveness? But what was peace like in 1921? In 1921, peace was a major issue in the wake of the peace conference held in Paris the previous year. With memories of the Great War fresh in their minds, delegates to the 1921 Rotary Convention in Edinburgh, Scotland, amended the association's constitution to include the goal to aid in the advancement of international peace and goodwill through a fellowship of business and professional men of all nations united in the Rotary ideal of service. In 1921, Paul Harris was well aware that peace among nations had to be promoted. A century later, that question remains unsatisfactorily answered, all flames not having been stamped out. The formidable backlash of World War II created the dreaded return of the second atrocious conflict. Where then could peace choose to dwell? One reassuring perspective was that drawn by the United Nations Charter of the United Nations, entered into force on October 24, 1945. The involvement of Rotary in matters of peace is remarkably typified in the annual Rotary UN Day. In recent years, the Australian flag has been hallowed during numerous celebrations in the cathedral. Even in the dim early morning light, the large 7-pointed star shares the blue expanse with the 5 stars of the Southern Cross. Contemplation of this stellar formation triggers the urge to fathom the essence and origin of peace, the peace brought to France and delivered on the fields of courage. Just across from the chapel, a tiny angel weeps. For whom does the angel weep? The answer, dear friends, is written on the thousands of postcards to be found in Melbourne archives. Each and every one of them holds a different story. Their grandchildren and great-grandchildren will tell you beautiful tales of heroism and loss of beloved ones. On the outskirts of Amiens, when heading east to Villers-Bretonneux and Le Hamel, along the Australian Remembrance Trail, or later, turning off to the north for Pozières, Bulcourt, and Fromelles, the courage and gallant sacrifice of Australia's sons surge in waves of red, carving their scarlet road through vast poppy fields to the horizon. On a clear summer's day, you may be lucky enough to spot, standing upright on the distant ledge overlooking the Somme Valley, the tower dominating the burial ground and the elegant architecture of Sir John Monash Centre. On this Villers-Bretonneux promontory, the union of peace and love has become a perpetual pact of friendship. On this Villers-Bretonneux promontory, a voice speaks up. Here's to you, Sir John Monash. our nation turns its lonely heart to you. Impossible not to repeat over and over again our eternal thanks. See you soon, dear friends.
Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Doyle, the Director of the Australian Government's World War I Interpretive Centre in France, the Sir John Monash Centre. In an extension of the friendship that links Australia and France, I send this video as a proud Australian with the honour of managing this centre amid the battlefields of the First World War on the Western Front. A centre that bears the name of a remarkable leader, Sir John Monash. Sir John Monash led the Australian Corps with outstanding success on the Western Front in 1918. His success in the famous victory at Le Valle became a template for military operations that followed. It was his meticulous planning and his command in both offensive and defensive battles that saw Monash knighted in 1918. He is quoted as saying, "The main thing is to always have a plan. If not the best plan, it is at least better than no plan at all." Following the victory in Le Valle in July of 1918, Sir John Monash continued using his careful planning and clever strategizing, inspiring success in his troops. Engaging and motivating, valuing men over machines, Sir John Monash cared for his troops and was able to lend his innovation to lead the first combined ground, tank and air combat. It is the values and leadership qualities that Sir John Monash embodied that saw him hailed as one of Australia's greatest military commanders. I am proud to share in a small part of ensuring his legacy continues in France on the battlefields of the First World War.
We are here now in the bogs of Sailly-le-Sec, and seeing this landscape, it must ring a bell to you, the bell of the billabongs of your famous song, Waltzing Matilda. I'm sure your young soldiers must have heard the ghost singing this famous song. And of course, this is another fact that makes us think to your soldiers. We also come here often in remembrance of their sacrifice, because most of the fights happened here near the different in the marshes and in the bogs. The price of peace is sometimes heavy to pay, so may your soldiers rest in peace in Picardy, lest we forget. And we had another commemoration in 2018 with a big lettering of 720 people who wrote on the lawn of the memorial, "Do not forget Australia."
Once a jolly swagman camped by the billy bong under the shade of a coolabah tree. And he sang as he watched and waited till his billy boiled. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. And he sang as he watched and waited till his billy boiled. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Down came a jumbuck to drink at the billy bong. Up jumped the swagman and swabbed him with glee. And he sang as he stowed that jumbuck in his tucker bag. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me.
Thank you to all of our French colleagues. That was quite remarkable. And also thank you to our MC Tom Crampton, our Thanksgiver Peter Hollingworth, Chairman David Carruthers, and presenters Marg Lesser, Carol Bond and David Kram. In the background, we'd also like to thank our production team, Peter Wischusen, Yedenzi, Nina Hunter, Ari Chalantis, Mark Panoli, and Dorothy Gilmer, who do a lot of work in the background. But a very special thank you to our French contingent for joining us today and sharing that wonderful reflection. Thank you also to all our members, visitors, and guests, and our Calgary visitors for attending. A reminder that next week our lunch meeting will be in person at the Sofitel, 12:30 for 12:50 start, with the guest speaker being Jerome Weimar, the commander of the COVID-19 Response Department of Health. Bookings are via Humanitics and are essential. And well done again to the speaker team for sourcing another fantastic speaker and providing access to the influential people in our community. And I'd now like to close the meeting with a poignant memorial to those who suffered as a result of World War I. The video was created by Jean-Michel Hennique, current president of RC Amiens. He writes in his introduction, "In my childhood, my grandmother lived in Pozières. When we went there, my father, my brother, and I would look for shrapnel in the fields. The cemeteries in the vicinity made a big impression on me. Since 1981, I have been an artist in parallel to my profession. Many of my works refer to the Great War. I'm attaching a 4 minutes video that I want to offer to your club for its anniversary in connection with the partnership agreement that we recently signed. And I wish you all a happy anniversary for your club." So please enjoy Jean-Michel Hennique's video. And in the meantime, stay safe and spread kindness. Merci and au revoir to our French colleagues, and thank you everybody for attending. See you next week.
Au revoir.
Merci,
Bye, everyone.
formidable, formidable.
Salut David. Salut Marianne.
Merci.
À bientôt.
Wonderful. Merci, formidable.
À bientôt.
Merci.
Et on embrasse Belinda.
Oh, Belinda is working. She sends her love. Thank you. All right.